Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into a Coronation Street mystery that has completely shaken Weatherfield to its core. In the ever-dramatic world of Coronation Street, where secrets never stay buried for long, the shocking question of who killed Theo has erupted into one of the most intense storylines we have seen in a long time. What started as quiet unease surrounding Theo's strange and increasingly erratic behavior has now exploded into a full-blown whodunit, sending waves of suspicion through every corner of the street. Theo was never a simple character, there was always something off about him. Something that made people uncomfortable, like a storm quietly forming on the horizon. And now, with his sudden devastating death, that tension has finally broken. The aftermath isn't just about grief. It's about fear, doubt, and the terrifying realization that almost everyone had a reason to turn against him. From the moment Theo's presence began to shift the atmosphere in Weatherfield, you could feel something wasn't right. It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. The lingering glances, the sharp tone that seemed to cut just a little too deep, the way conversations would suddenly fall silent when he entered a room. It created this low, constant tension, like the hum of an old ceiling fan spinning above a quiet, uneasy office. You could almost hear it in the background of every scene he was in. And then when news of his death finally hit, it didn't just shock people, it rattled them. The couples, usually alive with chatter and familiarity, suddenly felt colder, heavier. People weren't just talking anymore. They were whispering, conversations became guarded, eyes darting around as if anyone nearby could be hiding something. I mean, you could practically feel the paranoia seeping into every interaction. What makes this even more intense is how deeply connected Theo was so to many people. This isn't a case where you have one obvious suspect, no. This is messy. This is layered. Every relationship he had carried some kind of tension, some unresolved conflict, and now all of that is being dragged into the light. It's like opening a drawer you have ignored for years, only to find it overflowing with things you didn't want to deal with. The investigation itself almost feels alive. It moves through the street like a silent observer, picking up on every inconsistency, every hesitation. Someone says they were at home, but then another detail doesn't quite match. Someone claims they barely knew Theo, but their reaction says otherwise. And those little cracks, they start to widen, slowly, painfully. You can see it in the characters' faces too. The guilt, the confusion, the fear. Some of them look like they haven't slept. Others are overcompensating, they're talking too much, explaining too much, and you can't help but think, okay, what are you hiding? Because in a situation like this, silence can be just as suspicious as speaking out. And then there are the confrontation. Oh, these moments are explosive. Voices raised, accusations thrown, emotions spilling over. It's not just about Theo anymore. It's about everything that's been building beneath the surface for years. Old grudges resurface, alliances start to crack, and suddenly people who once trusted each other are standing on opposite sides. But what really hits hard are the quieter moments, the scenes where someone is alone, sitting in silence, replaying everything in their mind. You can almost feel their regret, their what ifs. What if they had said something different? What if they had acted sooner? Those moments are raw. They remind you that behind all the drama, this is all about people dealing with something deeply human, loss, guilt, and the need for answers. And honestly, the way the story ties the past into the present is what makes it so powerful. This isn't just about one night or one action. This is about a chain of events, a series of choices, words, and moments that built up over time. It's like watching dominoes fall, knowing that once the first one tipped, the rest were inevitable. The tension keeps building because every clue feels like it leads somewhere, but never quite where you expect. Just when you think you have figured it out, something shifts, a new detail emerges, a new perspective changes everything, and you are left second guessing yourself, just like the characters are. And let's talk about that tease from the show, because it changes everything. The idea that the real answer might not be the obvious one, that it could be someone we have overlooked, that's what makes this storyline so addictive. It forces you to question your assumptions, to look back at everything you have seen and ask, did I miss something? Meanwhile, the entire street feels like it's under a microscope. Every look, every word, every reaction, it all matters now. Even the smallest detail can feel significant. And that constant sense of being watched, of being judged, it starts to wear people down. What's really fascinating is how Theo's death is affecting people who weren't even directly involved. Relationships are shifting, trust is breaking, people are starting to question not just the others, but themselves. And that ripple effect is going to last long after the mystery is solved. And through all of this chaos, there is this lingering question hanging in the air. One that no one can escape, not just who did it, but how did it get to this point? Because when you really think about it, this didn't come out of nowhere. This was building slowly, quietly until it finally exploded. This storyline goes beyond a typical murder mystery because it forces every character and even the audience to confront uncomfortable truths. It shows how unresolved tension, buried resentment, and ignored warning signs can spiral into something irreversible. The consequences here are massive. No matter who the killer turns out to be, the damage is already done, trust has been broken, relationships have been tested, and the sense of community that once defined the street is now fractured. And when the truth comes out, it's not going to magically fix things. It's going to expose even more. And this is where the mystery stops being about who did it and starts becoming about why it was possible in the first place. And that shift changes everything because when someone like Theo leaves that many fractures behind, his death doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like the final consequences of something that had been building for a long time, quietly, dangerously, and almost unnoticed. What really stands out is how everyone now has to look at themselves differently, not just as witnesses, but as people who were part of the story that led here, even if they never meant to be. And that's what makes this so gripping, because guilt in a situation like this doesn't belong to just one person. It spreads, it lingers, and it makes the truth harder to face when it finally arrives. In my opinion, the biggest twist won't just be the killer identity. It will be the realization that the answer has been sitting in plain sight, hidden behind assumptions where we were too quick to trust. But here's the question that really stays with you. When the truth finally comes out, will it bring closure, or will it open up even deeper wounds that no one is ready to face? And another one, if the person responsible isn't who people expect, will the street accept it, or will denial create even more division? Looking ahead, it feels like the reveal won't tie everything up neatly. It will leave emotional fallout that reshapes relationships long after the mystery is solved. Because in Weatherfield, truth rarely fixes things, it just exposes them. So pay attention to the smallest details from here on, the reactions that don't quite match the words, the alliances that suddenly shift. Because in a story like this, the real answer is never just about the final reveal, it's about everything that led up to it and everything